and the Game Nashville app.
Happy Saturday, Nashville, and welcome into the Michelle and Junnie Show. I'm Michelle Knezovic, Junnie Riddle in the house, Jared Cassidy. We are live from our game studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric. We've got so many topics to cover today, and you can weigh in on our text line, on our phone line. Engage with us today. Our phone and text line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Also, you can watch our beautiful faces streaming on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video stream is brought to you by Superbook Sports. And listen, if you are watching the stream right now, you will notice that one of the hosts of this show has a new hairdo kind of.
Hairdo?
Well,
I didn't get it. I didn't get a haircut.
Well, I was trying to figure out a creative way to say it. Junie's got rocking the stash right now. He shaved the beard so you can see Junie's stash, and Jared and I think he looks like UC Sorrow. So look at the stream and weigh in on our text line if you think he does. Junie, model it for him. Model the new stash.
It's like a mix of Sam Elliott and UC Soros, so that's two pretty good people right there.
Hey, I'll take that. It was actually an accident. I was trying to shave up the loose hairs up top, kind of trim the bottom. Made a mistake. It was early in the morning. I always wake up early on show day, so I accidentally shaved a little too much, and I was like, you know what?
I'm gonna
go for it. I'm gonna go for it. Every man out there that grows facial hair, you need to try a stash at least once. This is my first time, so we'll see how it goes.
There you go. We love it. Jared, how we doing this morning?
Fantastic.
Am I going to get a go, Cats?
Yeah, I mean, I told you in a group text message, but I did call that game, though. I said that it was a trap game for the Vols because of the big wins and the big losses for Kentucky.
Now, Jared, do you think Michelle has the right to come on here and brag after she was so down on her own team and even went to the point where she was considering firing the coach?
I did go there.
Is this allowed to do a 180 like this on the show?
Come on, you've been there with Vols football at some point, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can only imagine. But, yeah, it is a little wishy-washy or flip-floppy or sitting on a fence kind of thing. But, I mean, honestly, though, they were the better team. There were some bad calls on both sides in that game, though.
Officiating was...
Yeah, and shooting wasn't good. But, I mean, there's just so many things. But...
Well, Kentucky did what they do best, and I think the one thing that they're probably one of the top teams in the nation at doing is getting offensive rebounds and getting second chances at scoring. So they got some big players down low, especially that guy Oscar Sheboy who played like the National Player of the Year. That's what happens, Vols, when you don't capitalize.
It'll be interesting to see. Both teams bounce back this week. The Vols got a win in Starkville. Actually, we saw Jeffrey Simmons was sitting front row for that game, so that's always fun. Jeffrey Simmons also attended the Memphis Grizzlies game recently. Memphis Grizzlies were on an 11-game win streak, but something happened last night after their loss in LA to the Lakers. That'll be our first headline for the Morning Brew today. Hit it, Jared.
Taking you around the sports world for the biggest headlines. This is the Morning Brew. Presented by Nashville Jam Company on Michelle and Junnie.
You heard it. It is the Morning Brew. Grab your coffee because Junnie, Jared, and I are going to review all of the big topics happening in the sports world right now. One of the biggest stories that came out last night, this morning, was Shannon Sharpe at the Memphis Grizzlies LA Lakers game last night, getting in a pretty big altercation that ended up going viral on social media. There are a bunch of videos of it that kind of created, a scuffle mid-court. Shannon Sharpe was sitting courtside and started to talk a little trash, right? Memphis's win streak got broken by the Lakers, and then a bunch of people started to get involved in this, chirping back at each other. Steven Adams, one of the Memphis Grizzlies players, Ja Morant's father, T. Morant.
It all started with Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks and Shannon Sharpe were having words, and then Shannon Sharpe then stood up and started saying stuff like "come over here," and then that's when guys like John Morant's father, T. Morant, Steven Adams, and all those guys started to go over there. Referees, all that stuff, were having to break this up, and it's all because Shannon Sharp, the biggest LeBron James lover, wanted to go in and rub his mouth. And I guess he did what he wanted to do. I think he wanted to get the Grizzlies, who are the hottest team in the NBA, number one in the West, off their game when they're coming in and playing the Lakers, a team that's been struggling all season long, trying to get their footing.
Yeah, they're not good.
And you know what? Dennis Schroeder came up in the clutch last night, and the Lakers got the win. But so I guess Shannon got what he wanted to do, what he intended to do, I should say. But he looked like a fool doing that.
Well, so I'm just looking at a couple articles here. This one's by Sports Skita on the whole situation, and Dylan Brooks said it started because he said I was too small to guard LeBron James, and then he said, insert swear words here, back, then started to come at me. And both of them, that's kind of how the altercation started. It obviously created a scuffle on the court. Just, come on. I get, Shannon Sharp, that him and Skip Bayless, that is their, fighting mantra on air as far as, hot takes and, yelling back and forth at each other. But that is just completely unnecessary. Don't go at one of the players when you're sitting courtside. They won. You are a media member. I just thought it was very, very unprofessional, uncalled for, and it's just a really bad look.
I feel like both of them here recently have taken the drama to a whole new level.
Real life, I agree.
And I think that it's almost like these two are in professional wrestling, and they're both trying to fight over who can be the biggest heel. And I think last night Shannon Sharp took it from, Skip looked pretty bad on social media with the whole DeMar Hamlin thing.
Correct.
I think he got maybe a little bit too much flack for it because, in the end of that tweet, he did say, that is what means the most. But, again, it did come off super insensitive in the moment. Mm-hmm. But Shannon Sharp, as a professional athlete, a guy that's won at the highest level at his own sport, to go to a different sport and then chirp players on the field when you're a highly respected member of the media, it just looks completely unprofessional. It looks faked. It looks like you tried to do that for clout. And I don't know. I was never the biggest Shannon Sharp guy before this. I'm definitely not a Shannon Sharp guy after this. It looked childish. That's all I got to say.
It just makes it about him is all he's doing right now, and that's just like a really bad look, especially when, like you said, that show is under a lot of scrutiny right now, like people watching with eyes on it right now. I mean, it's just a plain and simple, it's a bad look. Like you said, jumping sports, like I could see if it's a little bit more understandable on a football field because like
you're so
you've
far
been
away.
there, you proved it, yes. But like at the same time, like you're on a basketball court, man. Like you're watching a game, you're paying like everybody else. You should sit there. I mean, we talked about Spike Lee and all that during the Knicks games, except for the Reggie Miller. He keeps it pretty cool over there. He'll chat with you, he'll talk to you, but he's harmless. He's not gonna do anything. Shannon Sharp looked like he could have charged the court.
Well, and that is the biggest issue I have with it too, right? When you're sitting courtside in an NBA game, it's not like at NFL games, nobody's on the field during the game other than if you're working, if you're part of the staff. You can have field access before the game as a fan if you're a VIP member. But, you're so close to these players. I just thought it was really, really unprofessional. I thought, I agree with you. That show is kind of taking it to another level. And it just got out of hand last night. All the videos are over Twitter. But moving on, the Nashville Predators fall in St. Louis 5-2. Really tough loss. You could see the frustration from John Hines after the game in his press conference. It was about 30 seconds long. They're back in action today. Try to snap back in action, get another win. It's halfway through the season right now, and they've just shown a lot of inconsistencies. They'll have a couple good games, then they'll take a step back, and then they'll have another couple good games. One of the bright lights are the young guys on the team, such as Cody Glass, UC Parsons, Tommy Novak. So, we'll see if they can get the win tonight, but we're more than halfway through the season right now. The All-Star break is about to come, and this team's still fighting for a playoff spot, so just pretty disappointing.
It was one game that you couldn't lose. You were 1 point ahead of the St. Louis Blues. You were sitting there. a point or two back from the playoffs. And you really needed to get this win. You had to stay ahead of the Blues, and this would have created a nice little gap between the two of you. And for me personally, I think the Nashville Predators are a better team than the St. Louis Blues this year. You know, the St. Louis Blues are one of those teams. Their goaltending hasn't been that great. They've been a really offensive productive team, but not necessarily a defensive one. And I thought with the Preds kind of, showing up here in the last couple games, they were coming off a couple game win streak, that they would take advantage of this Blues team that's been kind of trending downward this season. And they flat out didn't. I mean, they let up 5 goals. I would say, some of those could have been on Saros, but I would say mostly it's because of the lackadaisical attention to details on defense and allowing all these lanes to pass the puck across the crease, and it's just putting the goalie in a bad situation. The Preds really, really need to clean it up.
I think you pointed out something that I was just about to say is, they're putting UC Saros in a bad situation because when he is not performing at just an elite, absurd level, top of, a Vezina level goalie, they seem to lose these games because, what was it? Against the Hurricanes a couple weeks ago, he had 64 saves. I mean, that is absurd. Yeah, that's amazing on UC's part, but also the defense shouldn't be putting him in that type of situation. Okay, moving on. The biggest story of the week of yesterday, Rand Carthon, the new general manager of the Tennessee Titans, spoke to the media. We'll give our thoughts really quick here, but we're going to get really into that. We're going to get into some of Mike Vrabel's comments, some people who've worked with Rand over the years, such as Jeff Fisher, former Tennessee Titans coach. But Junnie, what was just, your first initial thought when you listened to his press conference and just, I guess, all of the, people speaking out on his behalf that we've heard on our stations through the last couple of weeks, or just week, I guess.
Rand Carthon seems like a really, really likable, down-to-earth human being, but also somebody who seems like he's going to come in and set a tone for this team. I think he's coming from a 49ers organization. They're one of the NFL Blue Bloods. He has been a part of that big turnaround in San Francisco ever since he's been there since 2017. All they've done is stack up talent and been contenders in the NFC. And he's been a part of that with Kyle Shanahan, who I believe is probably the number one offensive mind in the NFL, and also John Lynch over there in San Fran as well, who's been one of the better GMs since he's been in town as well. So very impressive by him. I think he's really likable, and I think he's going to be one of Nashville's more popular sports figures in the years to come.
Junnie, I completely agree. Sitting there yesterday, there were a couple different things that Rand did that made my ears perk up and think, this guy seems like a really genuine, good guy. But there was one thing specifically in his press conference. We will get to that on the other side. If you want to weigh in on the Titans' new general manager, Rand Carthon, text, call us, tweet at us, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. How will Rand Carthon change this Tennessee Titans organization and try to win a Super Bowl?
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Come on. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a ½ carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments, so the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the game at 615-737-1025.
What's up, everybody? It's Michelle Knezovic for Superbook Sports, and this is your New Year's resolution: win money in 2023 with Superbook Sports. Superbook has over 3 decades of sports wagering experience in Las Vegas, so you'll get the best odds boosts anywhere as we head into the football playoffs. Plus, check out their special odds boosts and promotions at Superbook.com. Make 2023 the year when you win money from Vegas. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app and place your bets today. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
When you want all the...
Going in and the score. Blast the score. He risks one, they score.
And don't forget the...
Oh, what a stop. Sliding across to make the save. Backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is... Smashville. We have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Really? That's fantastic.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
You played running back. Your dad was one of the best running back coaches and offensive coordinator. Do you think a team can win a Super Bowl in today's NFL built around a running back?
Yeah. I joke and I say, it's cute to play, Golden State Warriors football on, October, September, but when those conditions change and you can't throw the ball up and down the yard, you better be able to run it and you better be able to defend it. And I think if you look at the teams that are in the playoffs that are still playing at this stage, everybody's able to run the ball. So I think, that you can win championships that way.
That was Titans' new general manager, Ran Carthon, on if you can win a Super Bowl with a strong run game. Welcome back into the Michelle and Junnie Show. I'm Michelle Knezovic. Junnie Riddle, Jared Cassidy with us today. We are live from our Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, Electrical Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Very cold out there today. But I thought that was really interesting, that quote from Ran Carthon. One of the biggest questions right now is who will be the offensive coordinator, who will be the new hire at offensive coordinator for this Tennessee Titans team. Right now, there are 10 other organizations in the NFL looking for an offensive coordinator. And actually, that was Jared who asked Ran Carthon, do you believe, do you have the mentality that you can win the Super Bowl with a run game and being great around your quarterback and you don't have to have, this elite passing game? And I thought his answer was really interesting. And at one point he said, playing Golden State Warriors football it's great in September and October and letting the ball just fly all over the field, but you get into those cold conditions, you better be able to run the ball, you better be able to defend the ball. And that is Mike Vrabel's mentality to a T on how he views this team. And when he answered that question, I just thought, these guys really are on the same page because, it's easy for us to look from the outside looking in. And they said the first time they met each other was Tuesday, but it all comes back to, where they came from and where they started their football journeys and how a lot of that all goes back, Junnie, to the New England Patriots.
Well, and that's one of the quotes that he had. He said, we come from the same grassroots. And the one thing that the New England Patriots did so well is, number one, they had Tom Brady. And Brady was always one, well, how much can I get paid and also have a really good roster around me? And Brady's the one superstar quarterback that has consistently done that, and that's why he wins, is because he's a team-first guy. And when we look at guys like, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and a lot of these, Kyler Murray this year, these guys that got big paydays didn't make the playoffs this year because their roster is really depleted around them. So that was one. But the one thing Brady always had was they had, a horse stall full of a bunch of running backs that they would use, and that's kind of what San Francisco's done. They went out and traded for Christian McCaffrey, and then in his press conference, how they, as a cohesive unit, they collaborated. The big word of the day yesterday, they collaborated and got a guy like Elijah Mitchell in the late round that, it was really all hands on deck, and he turned out to be a really key player for them. I mean, I can see that with this Titans organization. They want to be a run-first team and have the pass come a little bit later, and that's what wins. When it gets cold and you're taking hits in the cold, it sucks. It hurts. It's really painful. Some things that you take in September and October that you wouldn't even think twice about, you're thinking about in December and January.
I mean, think about when you're even just walking. Listen, I'm not on a football field, but even when I'm walking in the cold, your muscles are that much more tensed up. You feel achy, right? So imagine, running like a Derrick Henry and having an entire team tackle you, and how that feels so much worse in the cold. But that is the way you win football games when the weather conditions are like that. Junnie, another thing that, Ran Carthon was pretty pressed on from the media was just who's going to have final say. And that's been the big question on, okay, who's going to have final say over the roster? And, Joe Rexrode brought up a really good point when he was on Chase and Michelle with us yesterday. And he said, we all knew that John Robinson was Mike Vrabel's boss because he was here first, and then he went out and was like, I want to go get Mike Vrabel. I want to hire him as my head coach. So it was, J-Rob, Vrabel, and then, of course, Miss Amy at the top. And it was clear when some of those moves were made, specifically the A.J. Brown move, and Mike Vrabel a couple weeks prior saying, as long as I'm the head coach, and just knowing how much A.J. Brown meant to this organization and the quality player that he is. But this situation is a little bit different because, Mike Vrabel was the one who was staying, right, when John Robinson got fired. And then, Amy and then Mike is in the hiring process, trying to figure out, like, who will be the best fit for me? Who can I collaborate with the best? Like you said, that's been the huge word. It was used by, I think, Ran Carthon, Mike Vrabel, and Miss Amy multiple times yesterday. And I thought it was interesting when Rand was up there and he was getting pressed with those questions, and he said, I mean, the main takeaway is, like, I want to win. I want to figure out a way with Mike Vrabel to give him the best players because I believe in him as a coach. And I know that he can say all of this and we're in the honeymoon phase right now, but just some of the things that he did yesterday and the way he calmly answered the questions, but I do think he actually gave us some information. I thought, we were going to get there and it was going to be a lot of answer but no answer. But I actually thought, he opened the curtain and he told that Elijah Mitchell story, and he composed himself just so eloquently. And when he said, you know what, like, I don't want to have final say. And Mike having final say, like, that creates tension, and that is where you see egos in this business. And look at the two that he's been under, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, for so long. And it's never, who has final say? Is it Kyle or is it John? Because they know that, if one person's like, well, at the end of the day, I have final say, so I'm just going to disregard you. That's not how it works.
In touching base on that story that he did tell of Elijah Mitchell, I think the process of that kind of shows the culture that he wants to bring to this Titans organization. He talked about how he had an analytics guy that said, hey, I think this running back is the best outside zone runner in this draft. And he's like, can you check out the film and see what you think? Because, Rand Carthon played running back. He could kind of give this analytics guy who probably isn't, the biggest football personnel, person, trying to look and evaluate this guy. And then when Rand saw, he's like, this guy's good. So, and then when they started playing this dude's highlights and some of his film in the draft room, the pick that they were going to use on a linebacker, the linebacker coach came over and said, you know what? I don't want to use this on the linebacker. I'm with you guys. I see what you're saying about this kid, and I think this kid would be a great late-round draft pick for us and could make an immediate impact. And it just kind of goes to show you when one guy speaks up and then brings it to another guy kind of is like, you know what? I kind of see what you're saying. And then even the coach, the linebackers coach, that wanted to draft a guy for his room to improve his room, make it better, was like, you know what? I agree with you guys. I see what you're saying, and I can back off my players and my position of expertise in order to do what's best for the team. And you see how that's working for San Francisco. I don't think that there's immediately going to be one guy in charge. Just because, Vrabel's been here, the Titans are kind of coming off a bad season, losing 7 games in a row. Vrabel and I feel like Rand need to be on the same page and kind of work together. Mm-hmm. And not have that one guy that you go to in order to kind of create that culture to where everybody's working together and all hands are on deck to try and get to that goal to win a Super Bowl for this franchise.
Well, and it could have been really easy for Rand in that situation to be like, oh, like he's an analytics guy, like he what does he know he sees or something, right? But like he took the time to be like, oh yeah, let me take a look at this guy, and then he was like, no, like you're right. And that is how you create a roster that is like that San Francisco 49ers, that has depth. From 2017 to now, that team has been able to, create depth on this roster and get guys in the later rounds who've been able to make a significant impact on this roster. And Vrabel mentioned it yesterday too. He's like, everybody knows who are going to be the top 100 guys. Everybody knows who's going to look first, second round. He's like, what I get excited about and what Rand Carthon specifically worked on with the 49ers was really trying to win in those 4th, those 5th, those 6th rounds and be able to get guys that can actually be significant role players on this team. And that's how you create depth. And that was one of the, in addition to the injuries, something that hurt the Titans this year is that they didn't have depth at specific positions, and that goes back to drafting. So, I think that's another thing that I'm going to be looking out for too. Rand's coming in. He said that he's going to use, the scouting staff that they have. I'm sure he'll bring in some of his own guys as well. But right now we're going to go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got Jason from Murfreesboro. Jason, thanks so much for calling in.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Okay, first I want to start off with, I've been a Niners fan since I was 8 years old. So my Titans fandom came since they moved to Nashville. So I got an NFC team and an AFC team.
Love it.
And I'm kind of glad that they got Carthon for the Titans. But my question is, I get flustered with the whole. Why are you trying to switch teams? And I know you're trying to grow as a person and you want to be. You want to, like DeMarco Ryans, he wants to go, be a head coach. But why do you do that while you're in a playoff situation, possibly Super Bowl? Why don't you focus on that first before you go jump into something else? Like, I would appreciate that more as another team, that you were trying to make sure that team got successful before you left and went to another team as a head coach.
Thanks so much thanks for the call, Jason. We will discuss. I have a couple of thoughts on that. We will discuss on the other side and go a little bit deeper into Rand Carthon and how he views Derrick Henry on this roster. All on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Michelle and Junnie Show on 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
You love the game.
The Doors on the board. Touchdown at TSU.
We live the game.
Going up against that defense, he can make some plays and take that next step.
We are
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. The NFL playoffs are heating up, and FanDuel
every play is a rush. New customers join today, and you can get the divisional round with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code JGM. The bet I feel safest about this weekend is probably Kansas City over Jacksonville. You know I don't think much of Trevor Lawrence. He's average. America's #1 sportsbook has all of your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, with FanDuel, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code JGM, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older in present Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issues, non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
The 17th Annual Father and Son Bowl is February 11th. This event is a fun day of flag football, tailgate food, door prizes, a skill zone, and more. Every year sells out, so register now. Go to fathersonbowl.com. That's fathersonbowl.com.
If you missed the latest from Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
And the players like Forsberg and Duchesne and Johansson, those players didn't just get bad overnight. Ellie Tolvanen goes to Seattle and he's playing lights out.
Why are we? We're talking about 10 games that he's played. Okay, now if he does it for another
7 points in 10 games.
Great. Tommy Novak had 7 points in 10 games.
But Ellie
when he
Tolvanen
came up,
wasn't doing that here. That's the problem.
Let's see how he's doing after 50 games, 70 games, after 100 games.
And we can
okay, so you can
that
jump
then.
on that all we want, but that to me that's not why this team isn't getting it done. The top players have to play better. They're capable of playing better, and it's not on the coach.
Why not?
Tell me why it's on the coach.
Because that's his job. It's the coach's job.
It's the player's job. They put the guys out there.
It's the coach's
they played
job
the
to
top
put them
minutes.
in the best situation that they can to
I
win.
do not subscribe to that.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Tonight.
Backhander coming down in front. Covered up very nicely by Lankinen.
Your Nashville Predators are back home to take on the LA Kings. Pre-game at 6. Face-off at 7 on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Jeff Fisher is with us. What is it exactly about Rand's personality and how he conducts himself professionally that makes you feel so confident that this Vrabel and Rand Carthon dynamic will be so strong?
He's really smart. He communicates with everybody in the building and with ease, and he makes people feel comfortable. And he's going to get the most out of people, and it's just the way he is. And he understands his lane. From the standpoint of when he was with us and with the Rams, he wasn't making the final call, but when, for example, posed the question, hey, Rand, if this was your pick, which one would you choose? Would you choose the guard from Stanford, or would you choose a running back from Georgia?
What about the wide receiver from Michigan State? That Mason guy.
Yeah. Yes. You have to find out. Derek, you got to ask. You might have, I don't want to make you feel old, Steve, but you need to ask him. You need to ask him if he had his report on you. So, and what kind of grade he gave you.
Okay.
But, yeah, go ahead and do that. And he'll tell you the truth. He'll tell you I didn't do you. I did the same way before
That was Jeff Fisher, former Tennessee Titans head coach on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Speaking on Rand Carthon, and why he thinks he's going to be a great addition to this Tennessee Titans franchise. Him and Rand actually worked together when he was in St. Louis early in Rand's career. So Rand Carthon's career went from the Atlanta Falcons to the St. Louis Rams, then to the 49ers in 2017. Welcome back into the Michelle and Junnie Show. I'm Michelle Knezvik, Junnie Riddle, Jared Cassidy. We are live from our Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical studios on this Saturday morning. If you want to weigh in on the Titans' new GM, Rand Carthon, we're taking your phone calls. We're taking your texts, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. One of the biggest questions with a new general manager coming into any franchise, and I want to get to what our caller said, before the break, and said, he grew up a 49ers fan, and once the Titans moved here, he became a Titans fan, and he has his NFC and AFC teams, and he said he didn't love how Rand Carthon was taking this job mid-season as the 49ers are still trying to make a run to the Super Bowl. And we're seeing this a lot with, it's not just general managers, it's offensive coordinators, it's defensive coordinators, guys looking for head coaching jobs. We see it, what do they call it, Dark Monday or something, when everybody gets fired once your season is over. We see it every offseason as soon as a team has, lost in the playoffs or hasn't made the playoffs. And, what I take from that is there are 32 NFL GM jobs in the world. And, even just listening to his press conference yesterday, he had a really cute line, and his wife was sitting right there, and she got a little emotional when he said it. But he said when they were dating in 2003, she asked him, oh, what do you want to do after your football career? And he was like, I want to be a general manager in the NFL. And she's like, oh, God, I almost broke up with him, thinking of a guy living in La La Land. And it was a really special moment. She started to get a little emotional. And even after, I left that press conference, he's like, my dreams are coming true. This is what I've always wanted. And I think you can't look at it as, he left his team. But when you're hiring a general manager and there's only 32 positions, and a team's season is over, like the Tennessee Titans right now, they're looking on to the next already, and they can't start, scouting. They can't start thinking of, the moves they're going to want to make if they don't have a general manager.
Well, think about, Vrabel's end of the year press conference when they came back from that Jacksonville game in Week 18. He was talking. He's like, well, we got to worry about general manager on that. We got to worry about general manager. It's re-signing free agents. Jeffrey Simmons' big contract and what they're going to do with that. Some of the cuts that they're going to have to make on this team because they're, $23 million plus over the cap. Drafting and looking at prospect, which is Rand Carthon's specialty. There's so many things that the Titans want to get a jump start on this season, and they're already behind a bit because they didn't have their GM. This is a quick process. And you're also talking about a guy, Rand Carthon, who's, again, yes, he was part of the 49ers. They are still playing. They're Super Bowl contenders. But he was at the game last week knowing that he was going to be coming and interviewing for this job, came to Nashville, and he's going back again for their big-time divisional matchup against the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. So he's still going out there and supporting his team, and even so, that's not very common. We see this in college too. Like, coaches don't play in their bowl games when they're going to a new program. They got to get a jump start on recruiting. They got to start putting their schemes in, hiring their coaching staffs. There's a lot of things to do, and you can't just simply do that just based off loyalty. You got a new job, you got a new title, you got a promotion. It's time to move on.
Well,
and the fact that he's going there says magnitudes about who he is as a person in general. He doesn't have to go back to San Fran, but he is.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think sometimes, it's easy to look of, oh, well, he's leaving his team as they're in this big run, but it's the name of the game. Everybody understands, right? Everybody knows that the opportunity he just got offered. It's his dream, quite literally his dreams coming true, and not everyone.
The Titans weren't in a position to wait any longer either. It was kind of best of both worlds. They kind of got him away from there, and it is cool that he's going back, but just to have him here and. I don't know, a lot of enthusiasm around him. I completely agree with it. I'm just glad that they stuck with going outside the organization with this hire, because this is a more crucial one in my opinion, because your GM is supposed to be there, and especially with his recruiting background, it just had nothing but thumbs up from this guy.
I feel like if he would have stuck around when he got hired officially by the Titans, if he stuck around and stuck with the 49ers, I feel like John Lynch would have been like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
I would be like, dude, get out there. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to take that.
Exactly. So, I get what the caller's saying. A little bit of emotion in that call, but he's doing what he's got to do, and now he's got the opportunity that he's been working for the last 20 years. So congratulations to Rand Carthon. We are super excited for you to be here in Nashville.
Well, and he's really he was telling us about his schedule on how he's been flying back and forth, and how he just kind of got thrown into things. And once he gets here, he gets offered the job Tuesday. The press conference was Friday, right? Things are starting to move. He's starting to meet with his scouting staff. He's meeting with Vrabel. He said he was going to make some calls after the press conference yesterday to some of the players.
He said he wants to meet with all the players. He wants to know who they are off the field, and he puts that into consideration when he's constructing the roster, because he doesn't want to know what they are when they're in the building. He wants to know how they are outside of the building, which I find really important too, because one of the common trends you see in players on successful football teams is they have good character. They're not getting in trouble. They're putting in the work outside of the building, and that is something that Vrabel has mentioned himself. That I feel like Rand is on the same page with the coach as well. Well,
and one guy that Rand Carthon is very excited to meet is Derrick Henry. Here's what he said on Derrick Henry yesterday at his introductory press conference.
So I've been watching Derrick since he was at Yulee, high school, Florida boy. So it's crazy to see how I remember Coach Parcells told me one time, running back is a production-based position. If you didn't get yards in high school and college, you're not getting them on this level. And if you look at Derrick's history, he got yards in high school, he got them in college, and he's got them at this level. And, more than anything, I can't wait to stand next to him to size him up, to see how big he really is in person.
Well, Rand, I can assure you that he is even bigger in person than he looks when he's running on the football field. But I thought that comment on Derrick Henry was pretty convincing, that Derrick Henry would be a part of this team next year. But a comment on another player has me scratching my head, Junnie, and makes me think that this organization could be going a different way with Rand Carthon. We will discuss that all on the other side on the Michelle and Junnie Show. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. He's gonna think that's stupid. Wait, what? Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi, this is Tennessee Titans tight end and three-time Pro Bowler Delaney Walker. On the field, I always wore my helmet and pads to make sure I was protected. Life is no different. That's why I got vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. Protection keeps you in the game. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19 today.
More information at nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
Barlines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Barlines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new hot dog burn ends. Nathan's all beef hot dogs smoked over pecan wood, tossed in honey sriracha barbecue, topped with a cool crema and crisp spring onions. One of my favorites.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Barlines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
If you missed the latest from Robbie and Rexrode.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, Brady's going to sign like an 8-year deal, stay with the Raiders till.
He said a few weeks ago, retirement's the last thing on his mind.
Yeah,
he could be 52 out there slinging the thing around.
Really glad we had this huge retirement crap for you last year, Tom. When he actually does retire, there shouldn't even be a single tweet congratulating
just wait.
him. Okay?
Yeah.
He's already had his going away
He's already had his going away party, and just wait to make sure he's serious this time. I think we could be a ways off from that, though.
I guess, yeah. Yeah. How much does tonight matter in that? I mean, they could make a run. I don't think they will. I think they're pretty bad, pretty average.
Their offensive line is horrible.
Yeah, and their defense isn't as good as it was. But like if they get, well, I guess either way, even if they get bludgeoned tonight, that doesn't mean he's going to decide to hang it up, right? It all seems to be pointing toward him hanging in.
It seems to be pointed that way. Now, look, I mean, there's a lot of things to keep in mind with him. I mean, think back to the Stephen Ross Miami Dolphins ownership part of this last year that was
player owner
on the table. Like, I don't know, could that be back on the table this year? I have no idea. Like, there's a lot that's interesting about Brady. If you're the Titans, I understand if you want to run it back and you want an upgraded quarterback. Like, if you want to upgrade at quarterback without Lamar Jackson being an option, which maybe he is, but until he's actually gone from the Ravens, I don't think he's an option. Like, if it's not going to be him, Brady's about the only option that's realistic, I think, that you have.
Robbie and Rex Road, weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Penny Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Really? That's fantastic.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Happy Saturday, Nashville, and welcome back into the Michelle and Junnie Show. I'm Michelle Knezovic, Junnie Riddle, Jared Cassidy. Quickly before we get into Rand Carthon and the Tennessee Titans, I need to give my little sister Bella a shout out. She just got accepted to the Colorado Boulder. So
great school.
Very exciting. Exciting time. I wish I was, a senior in high school trying to go to college again. That would be nice. Being an adult is hard sometimes, Junnie.
Would you still choose Kentucky?
Oh, yes, I would. BBN.
I don't know. I listen, I loved going to Western Kentucky, but I'll tell you what, that campus out there in Boulder for Colorado is beautiful. So if your sister takes a visit, she might never come back.
Yeah, right. I think I'll be joining on that college visit. I'm coming. But Junnie, speaking of the Tennessee Titans, we were discussing Rand Carthon and his comments on Derrick Henry. And, Rand Carthon was a running back. His dad, Maurice Carthon, was one of the best running back coaches, coming up in the league. He was with Bill Parcells, and Rand Carthon was like a little kid, growing up in all the Patriots organization and everything. And he became a running back as well. And when asked about Derrick Henry yesterday, it was a glowing, I've been following Derrick since his high school days and really just watching him thrive as a running back in this league, unlike some other guys, right? We know Derrick is he's the king. He's so unique, and it's so specific to this offense. And one of the biggest questions has been, okay, when Rand comes in, what does he want this team to look like? And another big question, which we still don't know who the offensive coordinator is, and that'll play a role into this too, and the hiring of that is, what type of offense do you want this team to have? So I thought when he spoke so highly of Derrick Henry like that, and he said, I can't wait to size him up right next to him, in my head, I thought, okay, Derrick's going to be on the team next year. But he also was asked about Ryan Tannehill, and here were his comments on Ryan Tannehill.
What do you think of Ryan Tannehill, and is he your quarterback?
I don't think that's fair. At this point, we're still evaluating the roster. I am, and that's going to take further conversations with me and Mike. Ryan has been great here. He's won a lot of football games, and I look forward to us winning football games, but I still need more time, to evaluate and make those decisions. As you know, this is a quarterback-driven league, and people are hired and fired every day over that position. So I want to spend more time evaluating that position, so I'll have my own opinion, and Mike and I will confer and figure it out.
That was Rand Carthon on Ryan Tannehill and if he would be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. My ears perked up, Junnie, when he said that. And I know Jared talked about this on his show on Friday afternoon and said, to him, it seems like, yeah, Tannehill will be the guy. And it was more, speak of just, I'm not going to make any, decisions here. I'm not going to kind of give you a look into my playbook or whatever. But to me, that sounded like, yeah, we're looking.
Oh, yeah. And,
we're looking.
And we've had this conversation for the last couple weeks of what direction do the Titans want to go in. And the two big pillars of that conversation have been, do they stick with an aging Derrick Henry? Or do they, stay with Tannehill? Or do they move off both? Like you had just said, from what his comments were and his body language and how he responded to those questions, and Jared asked both of them. He asked both of them because he knew that these two players are going to be indicative.
Kayla Anderson asked the Derek question.
She asked the Derek question. I thought Stillman had a question about Derek. He said about building about a running back. Yes. Okay, so but yeah, the way that he was glowing about Derrick Henry made it seem like there's no way that this team is moving off, especially after him getting, 1,500 yards on the ground, 300 some odd yards receiving, almost 2,000 total yards on the year with this lackluster offensive line.
And for people who have said, Derek's taken a step back, he also was second in rushing in the NFL. Maybe it didn't look like it sometimes, but he was very productive.
He is also such a big piece into your offense that you can't do anything else without having Derrick Henry the way that you want to run things.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But the big question is, can they move off Ryan Tannehill this offseason? And I have been a proponent of this. I have been criticized about this for the last couple weeks. I have been saying if I'm the Titans, I am moving off Ryan Tannehill. And if you do it after June 1st, you're saving $27 million.
What's the dead hit on that?
I believe 9.
Yeah, it's just over 9. I think it's like 9.3 is what I saw.
Yes. So $27 million saved post June 1st if they were to cut Ryan Tannehill. And when you're a GM, when you're a new GM coming into this, he said it. People get fired and hired every single day based off the decision at quarterback. And when you're the Tennessee Titans and you have the third worst cap situation in the league, you're over the cap by over $23 million. Ryan Tannehill moving off of this organization and them trying to go in a new direction, like I've been saying for weeks, might be what's on Rand Carthon's mind potentially this offseason to try and go out and get a new signal caller for this franchise.
So, when I heard those comments from Rand Carthon, and Junnie, you mentioned after June 1st, if they were to cut him, right, the dead hit would only be $9 million, whereas if they do it before, I think it's closer to 18. I think it's almost double.
It is.
Yes, it is.
18.8 is what it is.
Okay, so you're cutting that in half essentially if you wait until after June 1st. The draft this year, April 27th through the 29th, just to put in some dates in your head, just for some perspective here. And then free agency, we just talked about this the other day. That's March. Oh my gosh, we talked about
March 15th, I
March
believe.
15th. Okay. So those are some dates just to think about, right? You'll have free agency, then you'll have the draft, and then that June 1st cutoff, like we talked about, and then, the training camp will be here before we know it.
And just because it is a June 1st cut doesn't mean they actually have to wait till June 1st to announce that's the direction they're going in. I mean, there's plenty of players.
Because that's what they did with Julio Jones.
Yes, that's what they did with Julio. And for another example, for a player that the Titans ended up picking up, Austin Hooper with the Browns. He was a post June 1st cut that they, announced that, hey, we're going to let you go. But I technically think that they're not able to sign anywhere till after June 1st until that's absolutely official. But you still get the word out with the direction that you're going and know what kind of money you're going to be dealing with beforehand. So just because, that's the date doesn't mean that's when they're going to make that announcement or go in that direction.
So I did a poll on Twitter early yesterday around 9:30, so almost 24 hours, and I got 523 votes, and I said, who do you want to be the QB of the Titans in 2023? And I'm very surprised by the answers of this poll. Ryan Tannehill, 49.1% want him to be. Tom Brady, 10%. Aaron Rodgers, 20%. And Trey Lance, 19%. So I didn't put any, drafting quarterbacks, or I didn't even highlight that situation. It was more of, okay, do you want to stay with a Ryan Tannehill, or you want to go out and get either a veteran guy, or Trey Lance has also been brought up because of how we're seeing Brock Purdy perform, which we'll get into that in a little bit. And Trey Lance's good luck Insta post like this to Rand Carthon, and everybody freaked out like, oh my gosh, does that mean he's coming? I'm like, okay, let's simmer down.
Pump the
Everything's
brakes.
fine. Pump the brakes. But I thought those comments by Rand Carthon were really, really interesting because I could almost bet my arm if he were to step into the Cincinnati Bengals organization, the Chargers, the Chiefs, he would feel very, very confident in saying, Joe Burrow's my guy. Justin Herbert's my guy. Patrick Mahomes is my guy. And I know every GM wants the opportunity to draft a quarterback and have his guy. But I can feel pretty confident that if he were to walk into one of those situations, he wouldn't have said what he said yesterday about Ryan Tannehill.
And I agree. And my premise of things is I'm not saying when I say that I think the Titans should move off Ryan Tannehill that they can't win with Ryan Tannehill. I think this team can compete for the South and that they can make the playoffs with Ryan Tannehill. I just think that the value of the freed up cap space, the direction the organization's wanting to go. You have a brand new GM here. You had just said it, and you're absolutely correct. Every GM wants to go out and draft their guy. Ryan Tannehill is starting to get into his mid-30s, and we're looking at who he's going to be competing against in the AFC for the next couple of years. He's not beating those guys. And more than likely, they're not beating the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence and how he is developing. Trevor Lawrence hasn't
And
reached
they're getting Calvin Ridley next year.
Exactly. So more and more weapons. They're still trying to move and groove and improve their roster. So it's going to be hard for this team to really try and stay in that Super Bowl window with it. You have a really good defense, free up the cap space, try and go out and draft receivers, free agent O-linemen, draft O-linemen, and really get this team worked around the quarterback position so that when Rand Carthon wants to go out and get his guy, just like the 49ers, that they have a complete roster, and even with a 7th round Mr. Irrelevant pick, they're still out there on an 11-game win streak and competing for a Super Bowl in the playoffs.
What quarterbacks are available? Will the Titans stay with Ryan Tannehill next year? Let's take a look at the QB market as a whole this offseason. You're listening to the Michelle and Junnie Show on 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
The National Wild Turkey Federation is celebrating 50 years of conservation delivery during this year's Convention and Sports Show, set for February 16th through 18th at Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Come celebrate the golden anniversary with members, volunteers, partners, and countless outdoor enthusiasts. You can expect the same great nightly events, quality entertainment in the watering hole, and the latest gear from more than 450 companies featured in their exhibit hall. For more info, go to nwtf.org.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, it's John Tesh. We've all felt the impact of inflation on everything from food to housing to gas. But most people don't realize the cost of your home and auto insurance is also likely to go up. With the rising cost of building materials, car parts, and labor, even the insurance companies are taking a hit, which means you will too. So if you're working with a company that only has one option and not a company that shops multiple carriers to find the best deal, you're wasting your money. It's why you should be working with Zander Insurance. They represent over 24 top insurance companies that are competing for your business, meaning you get the right home and auto coverage at the lowest prices this year and every year. And Zander's service can't be beat, I know from experience. Just check out their reviews. Saving money has to be a priority these days. Go to Zander.com or call 800-356-4282 and find out how much you can save. You'll see why over 500,000 families trust Zander.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Get Friesen for a reason and support Special Olympics at the 2023 Music City Polar Plunge. It's the coolest thing you'll do in 2023. Saturday, February 25th at Nissan Stadium. Plunge as an individual or a team. Come in costume for a chance to win prizes. Whether you jump, run, or tiptoe in, you'll be helping us build a cooler community for 17,000 plus Special Olympics athletes in Tennessee. Learn more and register at polarplungetn.com.
Your home of the Nashville Predators.
Forsberg is shot, he scored! Philip Forsberg scores! Oh, my!
ESPN 102.5 The Game. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3. 1, 2, 3.
I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Discussing the big sports stories of the weekend. This is Michelle and Junnie. With Michelle Knezovic and Junnie Riddle. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
1 hour to go on the Michelle and Junnie Show. Welcome back in. I'm Michelle Knezovic, Junnie Riddle, Jared Cassidy. We are all live today from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios, discussing the Titans' new GM, Ran Carthon, how he views Ryan Tannehill, how he views Derrick Henry, and could we be seeing a new guy under center this upcoming fall? A lot of questions regarding a lot of different teams, offensive coordinators, which is going to play a role into this, quarterbacks as a whole. Right now, there's 10 offensive coordinator positions open. Ravens, Chargers, Titans, Rams, Jets, Patriots, Commanders, Colts, Buccaneers, and Cardinals. And then also the Panthers, Texans, and Broncos still are looking for their head coaches. Also the Cardinals head coach. So those will all be potentially offensive coordinator positions open.
Cardinals really cleaned house. GM head coach,
which
OC. Ooh.
Yeah, they don't seem happy.
Monty Austinfort, who was in the running for the Titans general manager position, is the new general manager of the Cardinals. And Cliff Kingsbury bought a one-way ticket to Thailand and said, peace.
He looks like he's having fun.
That is a boss move. I love that he did that.
Oh, no, I think so too. And, you know, I think in my prepping for last week's show when we were talking about OC, I had him as a potential candidate that would fit here. But after seeing his trip plans, I was like, yeah, maybe I have to delete that one. So, you know, enjoy Kingsbury. There will be a job for you when you get back.
Well, I mentioned that I had done a poll with Tennessee Titans fans and asked, you know, who do they want to see as their starting quarterback in 2023? I put Tannehill in there, which he won convincingly with 49%, Brady 10%, Rodgers 20%, and Trey Lance 19%. The reason I bring Trey Lance into this is because, you know, an article came out by the San Francisco Chronicle this morning, and actually Football and Other F Words reposted it, and that's where I initially saw this report on, you know, the 49ers and them being able to create this postseason run with Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy at the quarterback position. You know, they got Jimmy G. Well, first off, they had Trey Lance, who played in their preseason games. They mortgaged the future to go get him, to get their guy. Then he breaks his leg in the Bears game and is out for the entire season. They luck out. They got Garoppolo, and then he gets hurt as well. And they're up to their third-string quarterback, who's now 7-0 and looking to beat the Cowboys in Sunday Night Football tomorrow. But this San Francisco Chronicle came out with an article on the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, and is he their guy moving forward, or will they still, you know, have faith in Trey Lance and let him try to earn his spot back next year? And Football and Other F Words quoted the tweet and said, from two sources with knowledge of the 49ers plans, in quotes, the battle is over and Purdy has won. Goes to say on that Purdy earned Shanahan's trust and confidence in a way that Lance hasn't, and any public QB battle is just fake. So a development for the Titans fans should keep an eye on for sure. Trey Lance, a rookie guy. It will all depend on, you know, how Ran Carthon views him and if he thinks, you know, like, this could be our guy. Like, he has the talent to be a top-level quarterback in the NFL.
And could this been something that he brought up knowing that Purdy had won over Shanahan and said, hey, listen, if you're wanting to move on quarterback-wise, I know a young guy. I have a relationship there, obviously, from working for the past 5 and 6 years. Maybe I can work out something to where we could get a pretty sweet deal on a guy that they, really mortgage their future to go get. Maybe they might give Tennessee a little bit of a discount, knowing their connection with Carthon.
Still on a rookie deal as well. Really quick, we got some breaking news from Tom Pelissero. The Titans plan to hire Chris Harris as their defensive pass game coordinator and cornerbacks coach, per a source. Harris, who spent the past 3 seasons with the Commanders, remains in play for defensive coordinator jobs elsewhere to a highly respected assistant. So that just came out per Tom Pelissero, one of the Tennessee Titans position coaches has been filled. Chris Harris in that. So obviously we will wait to see if more of those, like an offensive coordinator job. Obviously he will probably bring in his own offensive line coach, but the defense position, Chris Harris of the Washington Commanders. We got a text on our text line right here. It says, "Good morning, this is Prophet Dave. Why aren't we still trying to use Dobbs and Malik as a backup?" I understand, the Malik Willis, you drafted him in the 3rd round last year, and he shouldn't even have stepped on the field this year. It should have been a redshirt year, but unfortunately, you had to have him as your backup because you didn't want to put him on the practice squad and have other teams in the league have the ability to try to snag him from you. You wanted to try to develop him and see what he has. This offseason for Malik Willis is going to be absolutely crucial because if he is in training camp and has the opportunity to fight for a backup job, or he's going to get cut because he's not going to be the Tennessee Titans starting quarterback next year.
I honestly think he might get cut. I mean, unless he takes leaps and bounds this offseason.
This offseason
he would have
is
to
huge.
really work his tail off. If he comes into camp and he's still not better than Joshua Dobbs, which, again, I don't see that being from what we saw from Dobbs against the Cowboys and Jaguars, I don't think there's any way that the Titans would want to stick with him. I mean, again, he's a 3rd-round pick, and he's a late 3rd-round pick for that. He had a lot of talent coming out. He had 1st-round aspirations, and he just hasn't lived up to it. And the one thing that I really wanted to see from him, because, again, we watched him in training camp, was to see if he progressed. He did not. He did not, and he didn't look good in any of his starts. He didn't look poised. He either seemed like he was rushing or taking too much time to evaluate the defense, and flat out in the NFL, you cannot do that no matter how good of a skill set that you have. So for me personally, that's the last thing that I have on my concern list for this team is worrying about Malik Willis.
Joshua Dobbs, though, is another interesting piece to the puzzle. I mean, a lot of it does depend on, are you going to stay with Ryan Tannehill, right? That's what you need to figure out first. Who is going to be your starting quarterback? Because I could bet a lot of money that it's not going to be Joshua Dobbs or Malik Willis who are going to be your first-string quarterback. So, Joshua Dobbs, though, could be a really good backup quarterback option for you. You saw what he was able to do with this team late in the season. He gave you a chance to still win the AFC South. I think that he was, a great grab, whether that was Mike Vrabel. I think it was Ryan Cowden who went out and found him.
Yeah.
To get him onto this roster to still give this team a chance, to win the AFC South. But he was a solid backup option.
I think he's a really good backup option.
He could be the next Logan Woodside, for the Titans.
No, I think he could be better than Logan Woodside.
For sure, better than Logan Woodside.
But you see what I'm saying, though,
he
right?
Could be
they'll keep him. That's what I'm trying to say is they'll keep him because who else are you going to turn to? Malik Willis is not ready, clear and simple.
No, and I completely agree. And, he could be like a Gardner Minshew. I personally think the backup of the Eagles and is a guy who can come in and you can count on him to be a serviceable quarterback.
That's going to compete.
Execute, compete, and that if your quarterback gets hurt, has to sit out for a couple weeks, is dealing with an injury, that you're already not like, okay, we're throwing in the towel. And also that people trust. You can tell that, Josh only being there for a little bit more than 2 weeks that he really earned the respect and trust of his teammates. I remember after that Thursday night football game, after the loss to the Cowboys, but it was weirdly positive in the locker room. Like there was like a sense of almost relief because they felt like, okay, we still have a chance. Whereas, the other weeks it was just frustration upon frustration. But you could tell from like Robert Woods and the receivers, they felt way more confident in Joshua Dobbs being able to run that offense. So, that's another big part to it too. He came in during a crucial time during, a tough part of the season for this Tennessee Titans team. The morale was very, very low. But he was able to step in, earn the trust of these guys, earn the trust of Vrabel, and I think that he would be a great option for backup quarterback.
I think it would be stupid not to bring him back, just plain and simply because he had the lead in the fourth quarter against the Jaguars.
I know, he did.
Winner goes to the playoffs, and because of an awful offensive line, and again, he should have, felt the pressure a little bit, but if the Titans had an average offensive line, the Titans are winning that game in Jacksonville, and they're going to the playoffs with Joshua Dobbs.
Mm-hmm.
And
are they still in it? I don't know.
I don't know if they're going to make a 27-0 comeback, but that's all hearsay. So I definitely think Joshua Dobbs earned the right to at least be the backup here in Tennessee going into next year.
A little bit more news. Actually, this was yesterday afternoon that I didn't see, but this is per Jeremy Fowler. Per Jeremy Fowler, the Titans have spoken to passing game coordinator Tim Kelly about the offensive coordinator job. Per source, Kelly is considered the strongest in-house candidate. I think, as of right now, he probably is the only in-house candidate. We've heard that the Titans have reached out to Eric Bieniemy, Matt Nagy.
They're not coming here.
Really, you think fully?
The Andy Reid system and the Titans system are completely different. And I think that the amount of personnel that they're going to want to keep here in Nashville, there's no way that the Titans can adapt and play that style of play. I think that and especially with the hiring of Rand Carthon and him wanting to kind of stay towards the Shanahan scheme, that's just a complete that would be turning the offense upside down. And especially if you're going to keep Derrick Henry. No, then neither of those, for one, would be a good fit, and I don't see either of those guys wanting to leave Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, because I think they have a better opportunity to go somewhere else, with what they produce in Kansas City than they would here.
Matt Nagy is an interesting one. I look at Eric Bieniemy, and he's still a young guy, probably still looking for that head coaching job and interviewing for a head coaching position, which there are some open. I could see, him, if he were to take the Tennessee Titans job, it would give him an opportunity to call plays, which he hasn't been able to do because Andy Reid does that in Kansas City. But then you also look at that, what is he here for a year with the Titans? He calls plays for a year, and then he gets a head coaching job, which is, Vrabel even touched on that as end-of-year press conference. I don't want to have guys in here that are just constantly looking for that second job, not focusing on this team. Another name that was thrown out there, but a lot of pushback on this one, Greg Roman, who was the Ravens offensive coordinator. And I thought RG3, Robert Griffin III, had a good tweet on this the other day and said, Greg Roman may be one of the greatest run game tacticians I have ever been around at the NFL level. Running backs and tight ends love his system because they eat. Wide receivers absolutely hate it. That's why free agent wide receivers didn't want to stay or go to Baltimore. It never was about Lamar Jackson. TD also said he did not like that as well, and for the same reason, RG3. So that was another name that was thrown out there. I know you're familiar with him just because Steelers are obviously in the Ravens division.
Well, he also was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers when they were playing in the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. He's very good at using the quarterback in the running game as well. So it's really, if you have a mobile quarterback that doesn't really have refined NFL elite passing skill that they're able to use. I mean, you look at Mark Andrews in Baltimore as well. I mean, he's become a top 3 tight end in the NFL because of his system. And like you mentioned, the wide receivers just aren't involved. That's why Hollywood Brown wanted out of there. That's why, free agents didn't want to go to Baltimore. But in this case of the Tennessee Titans, if they have a mobile quarterback, if they go out and get a young mobile quarterback and they want to kind of build that around the running game with the quarterback, Derrick Henry, using Chig as a young tight end to really get him going and get him high volume, whereas, the rest of this receiving core is, mainly blockers and athletes that aren't really good at, getting open and creating separation. It could be a good fit. But for me personally, I don't think so. I think a guy that, Vrabel actually work under would be a good, person, because he's trying to get back in the NFL is Bill O'Brien. he's been interviewing with the Patriots, and there's been some rumors and speculation that he might be interested in Tennessee, and they just haven't got that ball rolling yet. So that's another guy to look out for in this hunt as well, as Bill O'Brien trying to leave Alabama.
I get the connection with that, with Vrabel and the whole Patriots connection with Bill O'Brien. I do think he will.
Well, Vrabel was on his staff in Houston.
Well, yes, I'm sorry. But I do think he will take the job with the Patriots is what I'm saying. We had Charles Robinson on earlier this week, and that was, from his sources, who's pretty well connected in the league, said that that's probably the route that he is going to go. But you touched on Lamar Jackson, and that's another quarterback that his future with his current team could have a big question mark on it. And just the quarterbacks in general and how it has changed so much, Junnie. I have a theory on this next, and we will discuss it all on the other side. You're listening to the Michelle and Junnie Show on 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
Laying weight. The Mega Monsters Tour. May 2nd at Nashville Municipal Auditorium. With special guest, Lord Ashore. Tickets on sale now at LiveNation.com. Total sensory overload. Mastodon and Gojira.
What's up, everybody? This is Teron Davenport here for Superbook Sports, and I want you to add this to your New Year's resolution. Win money in 2023 with Superbook Sports. Superbook has over 3 decades of sports wagering experience in Las Vegas, so you'll get the best odds anywhere as we head into the football playoffs. Plus, check out their special odds boosts and promotions at Superbook.com. Make 2023 the year when you win money from Vegas. Download the Superbook Sports app now and place your bets. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and in the past, hair loss was inevitable, but now you have a choice for thicker, fuller hair. Trust the experts with 45 years of experience at Hair Club. They've helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair again. No matter your age, stage of hair loss, or budget, Hair Club can customize a solution for you. And for a limited time, you can get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Hey, it's John Tesh. We've all felt the impact of inflation on everything from food to housing to gas. But most people don't realize the cost of your home and auto insurance is also likely to go up. With the rising cost of building materials, car parts, and labor, even the insurance companies are taking a hit, which means you will too. So if you're working with a company that only has one option and not a company that shops multiple carriers to find the best deal, you're wasting your money. It's why you should be working with Zander Insurance. They represent over 24 top insurance companies that are competing for your business, meaning you get the right home and auto coverage at the lowest prices this year and every year. And Zander's service can't be beat. I know from experience. Just check out their reviews. Saving money has to be a priority these days. Go to Zander.com or call 800-356-4282 and find out how much you can save. You'll see why over 500,000 families trust Zander.
For the love of the climb, for the love of the fall, for the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is, for the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in Michelle and Junnie Show, live on this Saturday morning in Nashville. Michelle Knesvik, Junnie Riddle, Jared Cassidy, live from our Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studio. Tom Pelissero this morning. The Titans plan to hire Chris Harris as their defensive pass game coordinator, cornerbacks coach per sources. Also goes on to say that Harris spent the past 3 seasons with the Commanders and remains in play for a defensive coordinator jobs elsewhere too, a highly respected assistant. Mike Herndon, who works for PaulKaharski.com, we have him on our show sometimes, said this is a major addition for the Titans. Harris has a future has a future as a DC potential and could be a big boost for a young, talented secondary and Tennessee. Tennessee had one of the worst pass defenses.
The worst.
The
32nd in the NFL. They were the worst.
You know, every Sunday when you get your fantasy football updates, I would get an update that said something along the lines of Tennessee, your wide receiver is playing like Tennessee today or something, whoever I had on my fantasy team, and it was like alert, big points alert or something for that wide receiver because they were playing the Tennessee Titans, and I was like, ooh,
burn.
That's not a good look. But
well, you know, with a little bit of context here, you know, they were the worst because, you know, Amani Hooker, Elijah Molden. Christian Fulton, majority didn't play this season, you know.
Yeah, the guys you could count on were Kevin Byard back there and Roger McCreary, who still was a rookie.
And he was a rookie, and he still got burnt a lot.
Yeah. So, you know, if you get those guys healthy, it looks a lot different. You get a different coach in there. Junie, you said you had a text on your personal text line discussing the Ravens offensive coordinator,
Greg Roman. So like I had mentioned, you know, Greg Roman, he was the offensive coordinator with Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco when they went to the Super Bowl. Obviously, he was the OC with Lamar Jackson during his MVP season, and they just let him go. So my dad asked, he texted me and said, would the Ravens offensive coordinator work if they keep Malik Willis? Which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that definitely is really interesting.
But I don't know. For me, I think it would definitely help. But when you're talking about the way Colin Kaepernick was playing in that 2013 year, I mean, he was setting rushing records on the ground in the playoffs. He was throwing the ball at an elite level to elite wide receivers as well. And then you look at Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson, first rounder, league MVP. You know, he's probably he set the record for rushing yards for a quarterback in the NFL, and also he has a pretty good arm talent as well. You know, he's I wouldn't say he's an elite passer, but he's a good passer. Malik Willis is nowhere near a good passer at this moment in time. That's why I don't think that even with a system that highlights what's great about Malik Willis, it's still going to be hard because there's a lot of fundamental things that he needs to work on in his game.
Well, I think what could be interesting is if Lamar Jackson came here, which is something that people have been talking about as well. You know, him and Derrick Henry.
Well, they just had their season-ending press conference, and you know, Harbaugh and their GM had said that that's their main focus is to try and get him re-signed.
It should be.
And again, that's what they say, and we know what coaches and GMs say.
Like, why haven't there been more stuff about that? Like, they don't even. It doesn't seem like they're trying very much to me.
I think they're gonna. Try and franchise tag.
You think that they're dangling him out there, but in the end result, they're gonna franchise him? Because that's what I think they're gonna do.
I think that's what they're gonna do too.
They're gonna try to see what they could get underground. You know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then just slap the franchise tag. Whether or not he plays, I doubt I see him as the kind of player though for right now. For what he wants from that organization, that he won't play under the franchise tag.
I was just going to say, you know, if I'm Lamar Jackson and I don't get that big contract that you're seeing Kyler Murray's get, you're seeing other quarterbacks around the league get, and I get franchise tagged by the Ravens, I'd sit out. We saw Deshaun Watson before all this legal stuff come out. That's what he did with the Texans. He sat out there. He said, you know what? Okay.
Well, he didn't do that for a contract. He had already gotten his contract. He did that because he just didn't want to be there anymore.
Well, that was what I meant. Like, he just didn't want to play for that team, and if Lamar doesn't get his contract and he gets franchise tagged and doesn't want to play for that team, he could easily just say, okay, well, I'm sitting out. And Charles Robinson came on Robbie and Rex Road earlier this week, really well connected in the NFL, senior NFL writer for Yahoo Sports, and discussed quarterbacks specifically and how the offseason has been different over the years that he's been covering it.
The quarterback market, if suddenly Lamar Jackson becomes a tradable commodity, it's nuts. Like it, I 2 years ago, I talked to Sean, or it was after Stafford got traded and Brady went to Tampa. I talked to Sean Payton, and I was like, "This is insane! Like this quarterback migration. Jared Goff gets traded. I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. This is like a whole new world in the NFL." And Sean was like, "It's one off season." He's like, "Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what whether this is a trend. I think it's a trend. Like, I really do. I think now it's been a couple of years in a row here where we've kind of had this happen. And I think, like, as active as the NFL general managers are at the deadline, they're just as active now with quarterbacks and being willing to move these guys around. And I also think the quarterbacks know that they have the leverage to push to be moved too.
That was Charles Robinson earlier this week on Robbie and Rex Road. That last sentence that he said, the quarterbacks know that they have the leverage to move. And I think that is one of the biggest things that we've seen these last couple years. Think about how crazy last year was. I feel like part of it started, when Brady went to Tampa and we saw Stafford go to the Rams and Goff go, to the Lions. And now we've seen Russell Wilson go from Seattle to the Broncos. We've seen Deshaun move, right? We've seen so much movement, and a lot of it starting with the quarterbacks basically saying, I want to go, I want out.
Well, I'll put it this way too. The Ravens are one of the better organizations, fundamentally, foundationally, than some of these other franchises like the Cardinals and Browns.
Houston.
The Cardinals just paid a ton of money to Kyler Murray when they had to put a clause in his contract that he has to study a certain amount of hours, that he puts other things before football, that he had never won a playoff game. Deshaun Watson as well. I mean, Deshaun Watson has a playoff win, but at the same time, he just went through all of his sexual assault, allegations, and the Browns just went ahead and paid him the most guaranteed money in NFL history. These are moves that are made by organizations that, one, don't have a history of winning, and two, don't have that foundation to make good decisions. And I think where the Ravens are right now is they look at Lamar Jackson, they say, he's a really good quarterback. He puts up excellent numbers, in the beginning of the year when the weather's nice and it's warm. But towards the tail end of the year, especially for the past 2 seasons, he's gotten injured. And when you look at his playoff resume, it's not good. He's had one good playoff game, and that was down here in Nashville, where we know that the weather doesn't get that cold this time of year compared to other places in the AFC. So if I'm the Ravens and I'm like, do I want to fork out all this money to this guy that he won an MVP, but since then his numbers have gone down every single year, and he doesn't, prove himself in the playoffs, and they haven't made it past the divisional round. So it's like, do they really want to fork out that money for a guy that they don't know if they can get the results with?
Well, and Junnie, you hit on it there, right? The Ravens need to make the decision, okay, do we think Lamar Jackson can become our guy? We get a new offensive coordinator in there. We get him some, different wide receivers. Maybe we have him throw it a little bit more, not run as much. But if it doesn't work, and let's also remember that Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent. So he is sitting in on all of these conversations. And, the GM is a businessman. And any GM, any businessman, any businesswoman, they want to give you the least amount of money as possible.
Yeah.
Right? Because they want the cap to work. They want to be able to get as many players. And they also they don't want to have to pay you as much as some other people. It is a business deal. So when he's sitting in on these conversations, they're going to tell him, and they're going to be honest with him, hey, this is why we don't want to give you X, Y, and Z. Or this is why we're giving you this instead of that, right? And that's tough to hear, right? That's why you have agents, because they handle that side of things, and you don't let emotion get brought into it when you're trying to advocate for yourself. That is why agents are paid to do things like that. And the reason I think that he might not be with the Ravens next year is because I think something like that will happen.
But we also saw, Roquan Smith. You had mentioned that he doesn't have an agent, but he got re-signed. The Ravens obviously just traded for him this season, and they didn't mind throwing a $100 million contract his way.
He's the highest paid linebacker now. But this contract that was very quick, right? He got in there, he came from the Bears, signed with the Ravens, and they were able to make that contract happen very, very quickly. This has been happening with Lamar since last offseason.
I know, and I think it just kind of goes to show you they view Roquan Smith as a top premier player at that position.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel that way about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think it tells you a lot more about Lamar Jackson, the way that the Ravens are handling it. But my only thing is, though, too, if they don't re-sign him, somebody will, and they will give him that money for sure.
100%. Kyler Murray just got it and hasn't done anything in the postseason.
But if you don't think that Lamar Jackson is your guy, why would you want to give him that money? Again, it goes down to the point. If you don't think you have the quarterback that can go win a Super Bowl, what are you doing?
Well,
why aren't you going out to get the guy that you think can?
Right, but they also don't have a lot of wide receivers, though, for him to throw anything to. Outside of Mark Andrews, like
tight end.
Yeah, their receiving core is not great, so they're not really doing their part either about giving him some options to do that.
They've drafted 2 wide receivers in the first round since he's been their starting quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, how have they panned out?
Well, they traded Hollywood Brown, and then Bateman ended up getting hurt this year, so he can't stay healthy.
Right, so the Hollywood Brown is money, right? Like,
well, that and he also wasn't really putting up first round wide receiver numbers.
Exactly. So I mean, they're both to blame, but I mean, honestly, too, like on Lamar not playing, like, why would he play that last game? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was protecting himself. He doesn't know the future yet.
Yeah, and he had to go to social media because there was a lot of speculation that he was holding out and said, I am still injured. This is my injury. This is what is happening, with my knee, and went into depth on social media about it. But to your guys' point, about wide receivers, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens as a whole, I bring back up that Robert Griffin Jr. point, right? Greg Roman as their offensive coordinator and him saying, tight ends and running backs, they love the system, but that's why it's been hard for free agent wide receivers to want to come to the Ravens. It's not because of, I'm sure there's a bunch of different factors, but, it's not all because of Lamar Jackson. A part of it, too, could be the system and the offensive coordinator. So that'll be another position to look, are they getting an offensive coordinator and trying to go a different way with all of those openings? 10 currently, the Titans being one of them, offensive coordinator jobs open. We have got an exciting day of football, ladies and gentlemen. We have got the divisional rounds. We're also going to recap the wild card rounds a little bit, too, on the Michelle and Junnie show. All on the other side on 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
You watch the game.
Haskins again doesn't get it. Jaguars have won the AFC South.
We talk the game.
The offensive side of the football for the Titans, who should be back next season.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The playoffs are in full swing, and Electronic Express is bringing you show-stopping deals. Come into any of our convenient locations and save big on 4K TVs from your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Hisense, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. 4K TVs, computers, appliances, housewares, gaming, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Get big game ready in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Electronic Express, we make it happen.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
If you endorse that take today, then you are endorsing that Craig Ackerman, who has done a terrible job since he's been the special teams coach, which is longer than Vrabel has been the head coach, then you are endorsing that job. And every screw-up that they have next year, and they will because they F up a lot, every single one of those is on you, and it's on Vrabel. But I'm sick and tired of Craig Ackerman. And I will argue with Mike Vrabel for days about this special teams unit. He played special teams in the NFL. This special teams are terrible. Go find me a returner. They gave you Dory Jackson. That didn't work. They drafted you Kyle Phillips. That didn't work. What more do you want? You want to go draft you a first-round pick at returner?
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and the NFL playoffs are heating up, and with FanDuel, every play is a rush. New customers join today so you can bet the divisional round with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you have to do is sign up with promo code ROB. I love San Francisco. I think they may be the team to beat in the NFC. I'll take them on the money line. I'll take Brock Purdy over on touchdown passes, but you take it any way you want to take it. America's #1 sportsbook has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, with FanDuel, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Please call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
This is Mikhail Kralland, and this is Nashville.
And a rebound shoveled in by Mikhail Granlund, and the Predators have tied it up on the power play.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025, their game.
This is Michelle and Junnie.
Really? That's fantastic.
1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Pull out all the stops to beat the Chiefs Saturday in Kansas City, even if that means finding new plays to call off the internet, something Doug Peterson says he's not opposed to.
You do get a lot of stuff off of Twitter. People send you those videos and stuff off of Twitter and YouTube and things like that, and video that might have saw something in a training camp practice, or all that stuff gets posted nowadays. People are, that's the thing about it. Everybody has a microphone and a camera, but that's usually the most creative place that we find stuff.
That was Doug Peterson, coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, earlier this week, saying that sometimes they reach outside of the box a little bit to find some of their play calls. Absolutely love that. That also was Taylor Benetti of the NFL Network speaking on Doug Peterson. That'll be the first game today. Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. Welcome back into the Michelle and Junnie Show. I'm Michelle Knezovic, Junnie Riddle, Jared Cassidy. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios this morning. Just about 30 more minutes of the show. We are going to recap some of the wild card matchups, what we saw, preview the divisional rounds, and then also, at 10:45, we will be making our picks for the weekend presented by Superbook Sportsbook. I know that, Junnie, you and Jared have some words on this Chargers-Jags game. And, Junnie, we were watching it together, and I left, a little bit into the third quarter and watched the second half at home. And it wasn't very interesting when we were together. And then as soon as we were, chatting and eating and visiting and all hanging out, and we're like, oh, well, here goes this game. Here's a blowout, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be the game of the weekend.
The game of the week. We are all so excited. We're like, Jared, we're watching the game together. We're so excited. And then we're like, we're going to dip out, third quarter, June. Like, we're heading home. And all of a sudden, we're like, oh, my God, what is happening right now? Trevor Lawrence, 4 interceptions. The Chargers capitalize off them. It's 27-0. Trevor Lawrence then in the second half, 4 touchdowns, and end up winning the game 31-27. Either an incredible comeback or an absolutely
catastrophic
meltdown, dumpster fire by the Chargers. I thought Brandon Staley would be out. They didn't fire him. They fired offensive coordinator and their quarterback coach. So it looks like Staley will still be staying at the helm with the LA Chargers.
Which is silly, because if Justin Herbert got Sean Payton, I mean, that would be a scary sight for not only the AFC but the entire league.
It would be.
You get a major head coach like that. I mean, that would have been crazy. But
I should have played the audio quickly. Sean Payton's daughter has a podcast, and it's a betting podcast, and she had her dad on earlier this week, and she's like, okay, Dad, now I'm going to bring up a graphic of your odds from Vegas on which team you will be coaching next year. And the Chargers and the Cowboys, this was before the wild card matchups, they were at the bottom. He goes, well, I got to knock those two out because they're both in the playoffs and they have coaches. And I'm like,
Yeah.
But Chase actually brought up a good point, and he said, because they're keeping Staley, it makes him think that Sean Payton said no to them.
Really?
That was his theory. I mean, no,
I
could see that.
But why would you say no to one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league right now? And also a stacked roster. I mean, the Chargers were one of those hot teams. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'll own it. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. They were my hot team that I thought was going to come out of nowhere. They had 2 really good edge rushers.
A lot of people
solid
did.
defense. Their offensive line is sounded up. Good run game. They have everything. They really have everything. They got banged up with injuries. They lost their left tackle.
Mike Williams getting injured
Mike
really
Williams,
hurt them.
Derwin James being in and out of the lineup all year long. I mean, Joey Bosa, we saw him have his own kind of meltdown in the game, but he was out majority of the year. He never really got going. They had a lot of injuries this year, and I think that if they had Sean Payton and they had just normal injuries, didn't lose a bunch of key players, I think this team would have went on a run. I really believed it.
Yeah, just an absolute, blow up in your face. You're up 27-0, and then the Jags perform one of the most amazing comebacks. I think the biggest comeback in NFL postseason history. Pretty incredible that they were able to do that. And now the Jags, Tennessee Titans fans, you're watching them, make a little run in the playoffs. I mentioned earlier they will play the
Kansas City Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs today in Arrowhead to kick off the weekend. I have to read a funny text on our text line. Dan from Clifton Park. Dan, the man, my stepdad. Enough of this GM and Titans talk. Let's go to gambling. Everyone here in New York thinks the Giants will win. Philly will destroy them today. Best bet of the day. Good luck to everyone out there playing the games. Love it. He loves our gambling talk. But let's talk about the games we got today. I mean, we got Kansas City, we got the Jags, and then later we've got the oh my gosh, what is this? Eagles and Giants. That game, listen, I am loving the underdogs this weekend, guys. Right? I like the Jags to make it a close game. I think that the Chiefs are going to win and they will see themselves back in the AFC Championship game. But I'm liking the Bengals tomorrow. And
really?
I'm kind of liking the I'm kind of liking maybe the Cowboys. I think the Niners will win.
Oh,
but
you're smoking on that Chase McKay pack right there with the Dallas Cowboys. Okay.
Listen. I counted them out. I do have to say I gave Dak a lot of crap and was like, leads the league in interceptions, all this stuff. But I do have to say, I do have to tip my hat to him. He really performed under the pressure on Monday night.
He also played a pretty bad Bucs
I was just going to say,
so.
Then again, wait till you face this 49ers defense.
I thought with the Bucs getting a little bit healthier on the offensive line, that might have helped. But, I mean, when you looked at their struggles
the fact that
all year long.
Ryan Jensen played,
he
tore his ACL or 5 months ago.
But you could really see with the Bucs that, especially off the edge, I mean, Brady's a statue back there. He's 45, and he still looks like he's in great shape, but he's never been a mobile guy. You get a good pass rush, and he has a bad offensive line.
Yeah.
Hence why he's always taken pay cuts, because he's always had a good offensive line. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a recipe for trouble. I mean, Brady couldn't really.
So should Brady be a GM?
Maybe.
He's like, I know I can't move, so I'll take a pay cut and give me the best O-line you got.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I don't know. Going back to this game, the first game of the day today, I'm kind of with you that Jacksonville keeps this one close. Mm-hmm. I think although they had such a rough start, anytime that you have a comeback of that magnitude, I think it elevates the confidence of your quarterback and your team that no matter what kind of deficit you get into, you can pull yourself out. And secondly, the turning point for this Jags team was when they went to Kansas City. Doug Peterson in the locker room of that game came out and says, hey, guys, I know it looks a little bleak right now, but come Week 18, when we host the Titans here down on our home turf in Jacksonville, we're going to be playing to play for the playoffs, and he was right. And I think that that's going to be a motivating factor. Said, hey, here we are. We were there a couple months ago, and that was the turn of our season. Let's go out and show them that we're a new team, and I think they put up a pretty good fight today.
Well, and I know we have a lot of coaches this year that have shocked the world. I mean, Brian Daboll with the Giants, Nick Sirianni with the Eagles. But let's just talk about Doug Peterson for a second. He came into this Jacksonville Jaguars dumpster fire after Urban Meyer left. All the stories that came out of, what the environment was like, what it was like for Trevor Lawrence in his first year. And even some of the players have mentioned it. Doug is a leader. Doug came in and we trusted him. We respected him. And he was able to, get the locker room. Even though the start to their year was not good, what he's able to do, that Chiefs game, like you mentioned, being the turning point, for this team. And Cam Wolfe of the NFL Network, he worked here in Nashville, covered the Titans for a while. He posted an article actually on, Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence, and quote, "Everything changed when Doug got here. Finally, we had somebody that was honest and knew what we wanted. It's easy for them to understand now what a good NFL coach is with Doug, but it wasn't then." And that's how Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence revived the Jaguars. And I also do have to commend Trevor Lawrence, a guy being able to compartmentalize, throwing 4 picks, the Chargers being up 27-0, and then having the calm confidence to go back in there in the second half and throw 4 touchdown passes and not just absolutely crumble, shows immense mental toughness and shows that this guy is going to be dangerous in his career. I think watching, we already knew what he was able to do, as far as just throwing the ball and being an accurate passer. And I mean, he was number 1 overall, right? We saw what he did at Clemson. Last year, I'm just washing that out. But we've seen what he's been able to do on the field. But I thought from a mental standpoint, seeing what he was able to do in the second half of that Jags game is very, very hard. And you don't see a lot of guys who are able to do that.
I totally agree. And kind of going towards this point, there are some big spreads on today's games with, 2 underdogs, Giants and Jaguars, 2 teams that nobody expected to be there.
Oh,
and
no.
We're coming off last season where, this time last year in the divisional round, both number 1 seeds lost.
Yes,
so
they
are we
did.
going to see any number 1 seeds lose today? It's going to be pretty interesting with some of these matchups.
And listen, I know Tennessee Titans fans are very familiar with that. You get the week off, you don't play. Could be very interesting. On the other side, it is that time. We're going to help you guys make some money. We're going to be making our picks. Just listen to these commercials first, and we will be right back on the Michelle and Junnie Show on 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Hey guys, the new year is here! And for many of us, that means making resolutions to get healthier and in better shape. But if you don't have that youthful energy, if you aren't sleeping well, if you feel like you're walking around in a fog all day, just resolving to get out of bed can be tough, let alone getting back in the gym. But you should know that there are many men feeling this way in these modern times, because low testosterone is affecting more men than ever. And low T can cause all kinds of issues like a reduced sex drive, poor sleep patterns, general fatigue, ineffective workouts. It can even contribute to ED. But the good news is that the medical team at the Tennessee Men's Clinic are experts in treating low T. Many men have experienced life-changing results. Testosterone therapy can help increase energy, workouts, make you feel more rested, and enjoy a greater sex drive too. So make a resolution to find that guy you used to be. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes a medical consult and testosterone panel. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment sex drive results vary.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
Rand Carthon, Titans general manager. Rand, my old co-host passed away. Floyd Reese, the all-time winningest general manager in the history of the Titans, and his family sent me a message. They said they want you to know that they wish you the very best, and they are rooting hard for you, and rooting hard for you to win 112 games, which would pass his 111.
Please, let the Reese family know that I greatly appreciate it. I have a ton of respect for what Floyd did in his career, and it's funny that you bring them up, because I was just standing out in the atrium and I was just looking at the Hall of Fame names and the retired jerseys, and seeing him and Jeff's name right there together, and being a part of those coach teams to face those teams that they built. It means a lot, and I just want to come in here with Mike and create our legacy.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Michelle and Junnie.
Well, thank you so much.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Everyone's favorite time of the show. It is time to make our picks presented by Superbook Sportsbook. We've got the divisional matchups this weekend, which is so exciting. It's one of my favorite rounds. We got a great weekend last weekend with the wild card matchups, but it is a little bittersweet, guys, because it means that the football season is almost over. Welcome back into the Michelle and Junnie Show. Michelle Knezovic, Junnie Riddle, Jared Cassie, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios this morning. First game of the day, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs have had, a nice little break, and they're back in action today. Sorry, I just got an update by Adam Schefter that I want to read really quick. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said Jimmy Garoppolo has an outside chance to be ready for the NFC Championship game if San Francisco were to advance to it, but there'd be a better chance for him to be ready for the Super Bowl if the 49ers could get there that far.
Doesn't matter. Brock Purdy is a story. He's played better than Jimmy G, in my opinion.
Well, Andy's healthy, so that was just interesting. It popped up on my thing. I'm like, oh gosh, what is happening? Little breaking news. Okay, so we got the Jacksonville Jaguars game. We got the Kansas City Chiefs game. Chiefs are favored by 9.5. This is a huge spread. Listen, we heard Doug Peterson. We've seen the interviews between him and Trevor Lawrence. I think this Jags team has heart. I know they put everything on the field last week, but I think they have the momentum. I think they cover that 9.5 point spread very easily. It's just too big. I think we're going to get a close game. So give me the Jags plus the 9.5, Junnie.
I'm going to take the Jags plus 9.5 as well. I think the Chiefs and Jags are both going to put up a lot of points. So I think a really surefire bet is going to be the over. It's 53. But I like the over in this because both defenses aren't that good. I think both offenses put out a pretty good amount of points.
I like the over as well in that one, Junnie. Jared, what are you thinking for this matchup today?
Yeah, 9.5 is a lot, especially these divisional rounds. But I do like the over as well. That was the first thing that caught my mind. But yeah, give me the Jags on the plus 9.5.
Okay, next game spoke about this one a little bit earlier. We got the New York Giants heading to Philly to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts will be playing, but his health is still, a little questionable with that shoulder injury that had him sidelined for the last couple games of the season. This is another big line we've got, right? We talked about it earlier. Both 1 seeds. We saw them lose last year. We saw the Green Bay Packers lose, and then we also saw the Tennessee Titans lose as well. So this line is really big, and I know you guys might call me crazy, but I think that this could be an upset game. I think that the Giants could beat the Eagles. Like I said, the Eagles had that week off. They've been playing with Gardner Minshew. Jalen Hurts has been sidelined. I'm going to take the Giants plus the 8. Also going to take them on the money line plus 300. Over-under for this game is 48. It's kind of a tricky one, but I'm going to take the over as well on this one. I think we see like a 31-27 or something like that.
This one's hard to pick. I think the Giants got a lot of grit. I think they can run the ball. I think they can keep this game close, but in order to do that, I'm going to take the under on this one. Under 48, but I'm going to take Giants plus 8.
Jared?
I'm going to go against y'all because I like the Eagles in this.
Okay.
These teams play each other twice a year already. They know each other. I will take the Eagles and their game planning over the Giants. But the under is also appealing as well.
I think if it was like 6 or 6.5, I think the Eagles win by a touchdown. I just think the 8's a little bit too much for me.
The 8 gets you there. I do want to touch on
a field goal, though.
I will touch on something Jared did just say, though. The teams do see each other. This will be the 3rd time that the Giants and Eagles will see each other this year. Eagles took the other 2. But listen, it is really, really hard in the NFL to lose to a team 3 times in one season.
Titans did it to the Jags, though.
Another reason. No, only twice. Not 3 times.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So that 3rd time, another reason why I'm pulling up a little New York Giants upset. Okay, moving on to Sunday, we have got the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Buffalo. Buffalo is a 6-point favorite. I'm taking the Bengals plus the 6. I think both teams looked pretty bad in the wild card round. Buffalo and Josh Allen specifically had a lot of unnecessary turnovers. Josh Allen's got to take care of the football. We've seen that too much this year. I know he can make huge plays, but at the end of the day, I mean, he needs to take care of the football. They almost lost to a Miami team with their third-string quarterback, which this Buffalo roster, that should not happen. Also, Von Miller will not be playing. I think the Bengals team should have lost to the Ravens. They won on a freak 99-yard touchdown. They got to play better as well. One of the biggest questions I'm going to have is that offensive line in front of Joe Burrow.
Listen, these are two really elite teams. This is the matchup that we wanted to see a couple weeks ago. Obviously, Damar Hamlin and all of his issues in that game kind of prohibited that from happening. But I like it to be a close game, so give me the Bengals plus 6. The Bills are going to win this one simply because the Bengals are missing 4 out of their starting 5 offensive linemen. Yeah. So that is something to look at, and I think the Bills' defensive front, even without Von Miller, is going to get after Joe Burrow, and that offense didn't even get 250 yards total last week.
Also, hammer that over under 49.
I will take the over as well.
Jared?
Yep, I'm going to go Bills. I also would go with the over as well on that, just because these two teams, we're going to get that match, like you said, that we should have got a couple weeks ago. I just think that the Bills could find a little something today and stop the Bengals.
Also, really quick, I think you mentioned it too. I just wanted to, say something too. Damar Hamlin has been in the building, so I think he is going. I think he's expected to be at the game. I've already seen some T-shirts made by fans that say 2 teams, 1 family with both logos in there. Think that's pretty awesome. We're seeing both fan bases come together and just in overwhelming amount of support. I think Damar Hamlin's foundation, almost $9 million, so incredible that he is, just walking, breathing, alive. So just a remarkable story for him. And it should be a great game. That'll be the 2 p.m. game tomorrow. Then we also got Sunday night, Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers. Quickly, guys, that's the 5:30 p.m. game. I think the Niners end up winning by a field goal or an extra point. I'm going to take the Cowboys plus the 4. Over under 46.5. I'm going to take the under. I think it's going to be a pretty big defensive performance by both teams. Junnie?
I'm taking the under as well, but give me the Niners minus 4. I think they're overall the better roster in all aspects, maybe except for the quarterback position, but I think with the roster of San Francisco, I think Brock Purdy outduels Dak Prescott. But give me the under.
Ooh.
2 good defenses in this matchup, but take the Niners minus 4.
Jared, quickly.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Niners. They're the better team. And give me the first half over at 22.5.
Ooh, the first half. Ooh.
I like that. Also, too, I want to throw in something quickly, guys. I like an unders parlay, betting all the unders on the spread. That's a pretty good payout on Superbook Sports. Also, we got to give our guy, Teron Davenport, a shout-out. He's been listening this morning. Teron was rocking the Jays with me and Nikki Latarullo and Rand Carthon and his entire family. Love the Jays action. Love the matching two-tone Jordans action.
TD is always
yesterday.
fitted out here, man. Never a day off when it comes to the shoes.
He's
and
a pretty
fit.
sharp-dressed dude.
Oh, yeah,
Keep
he
it
is.
clean, TD.
Listen, and now the new Titans general manager, Rand Carthon, he's got a shoe game pretty strong, too. That is all we have for you on this Saturday morning. Go enjoy some football this weekend, Nashville. You're listening to the Michelle and Junnie Show. We'll be back in action next Saturday to preview the conference championship games. Have a good Saturday, Nashville. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love.